Hi, I'm Debbie.
And I'm Jan.
Welcome to the Villages 365.
Today we're going to talk about what surprises us or surprised us about the Villages.
Even to this day. So
Yeah.
we've been here for a while. I've been here full-time for 7 years. I bought my house in 2001 originally. We rented it out. So we've been in and around the Villages for a long time, and you guys have as well.
17 years ago, we bought our first house, which was a rental. And then this house we bought in 09 and became Florida residents in 2010. So yeah, we've been here for a while.
Yeah, and things still surprise us. So, and actually it's funny because when we do our videos and some of our questions, we answer the questions as we know the information that time. And then when we do our review of the questions, sometimes it ends up that things have changed.
Yeah.
Like the movie theater in Spanish Springs was a movie theater. Now it's not, that sort of thing. So always interesting. Things are always changing and moving here.
Yeah. Changing times.
Yep.
All right. You want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
One of my first surprises was the pickleball thing. So I am a tennis player. I don't play a lot of pickle. In fact, I've only played, I think, 3 times in my life. And but it's surprising to me because it is very popular here. We have the largest number of pickleball courts in an area in the nation. And so there are a lot of pickleball players here. And so it's always surprising to me, though, when I'm talking to somebody and then they say, well, do you play pickleball? And I say no. And they said, I don't either. I find that surprising because so many people here play it.
Yeah. And when we used to go to vendor night at the squares, and because my husband's like 6'3", people would stop and ask him if he plays pickleball because he'll have a bigger reach. And he's like, no. And he goes, oh, well, you should take that up. So we played it a couple times. He plays it with the kids in Iowa. They have courts right behind him, but it's super popular everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
And it's fun, but the scoring, you have to say 3 things, and I have trouble remembering 3 things. So.
And they are putting in an indoor facility here, actually.
Yes.
It's not in the Villages. It's on 466, so it's not golf cart accessible, but it is basically in the center of the Villages.
Right.
So, but I'm sure that will get a lot of use.
It's a membership, though.
Yes, it's a membership club.
Yeah.
It's privately owned. It doesn't have anything to do with the Villages. It's just located right in the middle of us all.
And some land that was bought in the Villages area. Okay. Let's see. Not a surprise, but it's surprising how big the Villages is getting. So right now it's 32 square miles. 3 zip codes, and we've done a video on how long it takes to get from one end to not even really the other end yet because they're still building.
Yeah.
It's down the turnpike. It's just unbelievable. I did read something, if what they're grading now and the land they have bought, it will be 52 square miles.
And I think they have enough to build another 20 years or something, I think they said.
Yeah, they're clear down to push now. And so it's going to be a big city.
Yeah, because when we bought, it was, so every time that there was a road, like a break. So 42 is the northern end of the Villages. Then they got to 466 and then they weren't going to do any more. Then they bought some land further south and then they went to 466A and they said that we're not going to go any further. And then they went to 44A and then they went to 44. So it's just kind of funny too, those of us again who've been around for a while to watch the and now they finally have just said, look, we bought a whole bunch of land and we're going.
Yeah.
So we'll be in Miami. We won't live to see it, but maybe they'll make it down to Miami.
You know, what's interesting is we talked to a realtor and she said, would you rather have the Villages building around you or another developer? Because the Villages always does top-notch buildings and, planning and all the different trails and blah, blah, blah. And that did make me think because there are some apartments put in that you can see from Sumter that are not very attractive. And it's not the Villages, standards. So it was kind of a good point. You want the Villages doing it or do you want somebody else?
Because at this point, Florida's growing. So
so
it will.
No complaints.
So another thing that surprised me is the severity of the thunderstorms, because being from the Midwest, of course, we had thunder and lightning, but nowhere near as violent as I feel like our storms are here. I was never worried if I was caught in a storm outside. I was never, unless there was a tornado coming. I was never really nervous. But out here, we've been on the golf course and we've spent time in the bathroom hiding on the golf course, waiting for the storm to pass, because it is so, I think the clouds are just so much lower here. It has something to do probably with the peninsula. I don't know, but it just feels like the lightning strikes are just more severe. I think they happen maybe more frequently. Well, they probably do because it's a tropical area, but
well, yeah, I mean, and we have the ocean here and the, you know,
Gulf
storms
there
come across,
yep.
storms come across pretty quickly. And, yeah, the lightning is frightening.
Yeah, it's not to be messed with down here for sure. There was even a young boy that ended up getting struck by lightning a couple of years ago out on the polo field, and they said that it was kind of a clear day. It was just like a bad luck thing, but the lightning is scary.
It is, and we
here.
have a tree here behind our house that was hit by lightning. Was that last year? And you can see the scar. I mean, it's down to the ground, and then it followed the cable into our house and blew out all of our stereo equipment and TV. And so it's
dangerous.
Yeah. And
it's
I don't
dangerous.
know, there's some people that put lightning rods up, but to me, that's almost like,
drawing
here I am. Hit me.
Yeah. That, and I'll say, don't
point.
ask us anything about that, because I've heard bad things and good things. I heard there were some contractors going through here that didn't know what they were doing and they were putting them in people's houses. So that's something that I wouldn't even comment on. So
yeah, they are bad. One of the surprising things to me here is the landscaping that the Villages takes care of. The beautiful plants, the beautiful flowers, the way they put it all together. We had a freeze last month, and all the flowers that they plant were obviously frozen and dead. And it was a week later, not even a week, they were out pulling out the other ones and putting the new ones in. So you didn't even know a freeze happened. I mean, our plants look bad, but around here, I mean, they're on top of it.
And it is nice because we bought, as we said a while ago. And so to me, the surprising thing that kind of goes with that is that it would be very easy for the developer to come in, make it all pretty, sell, get out, and then it's over. Like then we're not going to worry about that area anymore. But they have really kept up, and our districts, which are little local governments, actually are the ones that are in charge of our different areas now, like keeping the cart paths in their particular area nice and all of that. And so I think that overall, the Villages, the districts, the homeowners, everybody does a great job with keeping it really nice here.
And visitors comment on how beautiful it is. I mean, it's Disney looking.
Yeah, and clean. And clean. A lot of people say that. I've got a sister-in-law that's a clean freak, and she's like, I cannot believe there's not any garbage. Because my sister-in-law goes out for walks in her area in Arizona, and she picks up garbage. That's what she does, which some of the residents do here too, but there's not nearly what you find in other areas.
I think sometimes stuff flies out of a cart.
That could be too.
You know, because it's all open, and then if it's light, it's
gone.
Comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't think people are
tossing
stuff out, because that's childish.
Yeah. So.
All right. I think you're next.
Another thing that I have down here is the healthcare situation. So we have a hospital in the Villages that's called the Villages Hospital. It's now owned by UF. They took it over about, I think it's been a year. It's at least been 1 year, if not two. And then they own Leesburg Hospital down in Leesburg. And then they are building a new one now down by 44 in the newer section. So it'll be interesting to see. There are a lot of obviously older people here, and quite frankly, a lot of active older people, which can cause injuries. Some people go on bike rides, and I can't even touch Jan right now. She got a bruise or two.
I'm not even going to admit that I fell on my bike.
But it does. I mean, accidents do happen. People are running on the tennis court or whatever. They fall backward, they break their wrists, or the pickleball courts or whatever. So
that's the biggest injuries in the Villages, or is pickleball, because people, and that's what they'll tell you, don't back up.
Yep, don't backpedal. Tell you the same thing in tennis. But it is an area where there's a lot of active older people. So I think the combination of active and older sometimes need a little bit more attention. And so one of the complaints here, though, is the hospitals and the emergency rooms, etc. And so I'm hopeful with this new hospital, and maybe with UF being here for a while, maybe it's going to take them a little bit to get things kind of in line, but be nice if the hospitals had a better reputation. We all love our doctors. We've talked about this.
We've talked about
the my doctors are better here than
and the getting your tests done, and there's sometimes a long waiting list if it's the busy season of getting a colonoscopy, which is so much fun, or endoscopy. I did mine in St. Louis because my daughter got me in, but I think it's a lot of people. Someone asked me last night if they've heard about the healthcare here was bad, but I wouldn't say that.
I don't think it's the healthcare. I just think that I think they're a bit overwhelmed, but you hear that everywhere. I mean, if you watch the national news, they're saying there's nurse shortage, doctor shortage everywhere. So maybe it's just what it is, but I just feel like that is one of the things that surprises me because of an elder or senior community. I was surprised about that.
So. It's busy. I'm going to put these two together, activities and the amount of clubs that are in the villages. Right now, I think there's 2,700, give or take, clubs that you can join, and all the activities, biking, golf, tennis, you can be so busy here, like a job, or you can sit at home and read your book. So, somebody made a good putt.
Do you hear that? So people are out golfing. So if you can tell by the way we're dressed, it is, 35 or something out, which is unusually cold for here, but this weekend is cold. So anyway, I can't believe there's golfers out there. They're going to have the whole course to themselves.
They do have the whole course.
It's like a private golf course. Good day to play, but okay, so go ahead.
Well, when we see someone golfing when it's really cold, we'll say, oh, they're only here for a few days. Because we used to be that way because we weren't full time. And it would be cold. We'd be the only ones out there. And I'm sure people are looking out there when they're going, oh, they must be here for it, because that's what we say. Good for them.
Yeah. So you were talking about the clubs, so.
Anyway, there's just a ton of clubs. I mean, you name it, there's a club for it. And if there's not, you can start it. And I think we've mentioned that also in a couple of our other videos. But it's amazing. It really is.
My next one is that, and this is a little tongue in cheek, I have not been approached by any swingers. I have not gotten any STDs off a toilet seat or a table or anything like that. And I heard that the Villages has the most of all of this. So anyway, it's tongue in cheek because to me, what does surprise me is the rumors, because I find it funny that I don't know of any other, in particular, like a retirement community, like Chicago's got the reputations, like the murder capital of the world and all that stuff. Like, okay, so those are actually undisputed facts.
Those are facts.
But I find it very funny that people feel the need or want to spread rumors about a retirement community. I do find that surprising, and it still happens, which is also why I'm so surprised.
And this rumor started a long time ago.
It did. And when we were thinking about moving here full time, I have to say there was a little bit of a pit in my stomach, like, is this going to cause like marital issues? Like, are we going to have, and then I was like, Debbie, you have been there 1,000 times. Your father lives there.
Right.
What are you thinking? But it's sad. So hopefully those rumors don't deter you. And if you are a swinger, hopefully it doesn't encourage you to come here because you're thinking you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. Because I just think, honestly, there's probably swingers in every town and area and stuff. Yeah. And I'm sure that there are people in my old area and I didn't even know it. And that's just fine because
could have been a neighbor.
We just live our life and we don't look for it.
We don't swing.
Anyway, we don't look for it. So it doesn't seem to find us, which is fine. But anyway, so my surprise is the amount of rumors about the Villages and that they are still happening. It's a retirement community where people want to live out their lives happily ever after.
Yeah, maybe it started with square dancing, because don't you swing your partner around or something like that? Maybe that's where that rumor came from. The square dancers are swingers.
I meant square dancing. That's funny.
Here's something that's surprising. The locals around here that have lived here all their life around this area, some of them are angry with the amount of building that's going on in the Villages. It's taken farmland. It's taking beautiful trees down, you know, developing. And the latest stats came out, and 25,000 people that live in the villages are from Florida. And so it's like, it's not just Northerners that are taking your area and buying these houses. It's 25,000 of
Floridians,
yeah,
like the villages.
exactly. I mean, they just moved because
And you
it's a
figure-
retirement community. So
Exactly.
they moved from Gainesville or whatever, or Tallahassee or whatever.
But when you think about the population, so if the population here is only 100 and let's even round it up to 150,000 for
Yeah.
a round number, still you're looking at that's a sixth of the residents
Yeah.
are
Of 50 states.
Floridians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't blame us so much anymore.
It's not all our fault, but we love your state. So thank you
We
for
do.
sharing. One of the things that I have that I was really surprised about, which I guess in hindsight I shouldn't be, is the political environment here. So during an election year, it is pretty charged. You've got a bunch of retirees that that care, and I think also I feel like our kids, I don't know, and maybe our parents felt this way, but I feel like our country in general is not quite as patriotic as it used to be. I feel like that's fading a little bit. And so anyway, this is a different group of people. These are people that served in Vietnam, some, you know, and some of the actual wars. I mean, we now have our generations, the Iraq and Iran situation. But the thing is that I just find that the people down here are very political. So they really care about their country. They really care about their politics. I'm sure some of it's they care about their pocketbook.
Yeah, I think it should care about their savings.
And that could be some of it too,
No.
but they really, and they have the time. And so I will say back, like where I used to live, never saw any kind of election signs that I can ever remember in anybody's yard or window. But here you'll see them in their yards. You'll see them in their windows of their homes. You'll see them on their golf carts. You'll see flags flying with their candidate on there. Whether you, whether it's Trump or Biden, let's just say whatever, you know, it doesn't matter, but you will see both. So a lot of people accuse us of being Trumpster land and all this stuff, but there are some Biden fans and some Democrats that live here too. And so they display their selves proudly as well. So everybody has their opinions, and here, more than any place I've ever lived, it seems that they are open to expressing their opinions.
Yeah, and I did see on the news the other day that the baby boomer generation is the most patriotic right now.
That makes sense. I think.
And the baby boom, and then that's a big spread.
Yeah, I'm just south of that by a year or two.
But there are Republicans here and there's Democrats, and not all Republicans are Trumpsters, and so I don't know why everyone gets put in that pot.
It's because the news during the election focused on some of the stuff they have had. Yeah, they had the golf cart rallies and things like that.
Yep.
And, you know, and so there, I mean, that definitely, it was a thing. But the things that they didn't show on the news is that they had them for Biden too. The Democrats had them for Biden too. And they just showed the politically charged things. But I am surprised here about the amount of, and I believe Sumter County, which is, mostly the villages. Sumter County has a couple areas that are not the villages, but it's mostly the villages. And I believe that has the highest voter turnout in the state of Florida every year.
Yep.
Or every election cycle. So,
and it probably helps that you don't work, so you can go vote. But now they have early voting, so there's really not any. So they're just passionate about their
I think it's important to vote. So.
Exactly.
And I think that's a good thing, actually.
Yes.
So, and I think most people are respectful with their discussions and displays of their politics. We did have, which if you watch the national news, we had a gentleman that decided to poke some people, and it stirred up a bunch of ugly press.
Yes.
So, but overall, again, 150,000 or 140,000 people live here. And we had a couple that were a problem. So,
okay, my next one is, and this isn't surprising because the Villages has been kind of a golfing community. I think it started, the big thing was golfing. But there are 40 executive and 13 championship courses, and right now 711 holes of golf. And they're still building. They're still building golf courses. So if you're a golfer, this is the place to be.
And it's actually kind of neat because even if you're not a big time golfer, the executive courses are nice because they have them ranked 1 through 4. So like a 1 course is really for a very beginner person. It'll be very short. No par 4s at all par 3s. The 2s I think still don't have any par 4s, and then the 3s have like 1 or 2 in the 4s. But anyway, they do have that ranked, and they've now put in these pitch and putts. So I've heard a lot of people have really enjoyed that when they're not golfers, because you just pretty much take maybe a 9-iron or your wedge of some sort and a putter, and you chip your way down the green or down the fairway, and then you putt. And so I've heard a lot of people say that they really enjoy, and I think I want to say there's 3 or 4 of them now, and I know that I just read they're building another one.
Yeah, I think they're very, very popular. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it's so no matter what your level of golf.
Yeah, a good way to start. You know, to learn how to pitch, which is, you know, in your golf game, that's kind of pretty important.
And you said you've taken the grandkids to the putt and plays.
Yeah.
And they like that. So that's a great family activity.
Yes.
Again, for non-golfers, you know,
the kids love
anybody can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
even small, I think Isaac was like 3 when we took him. And of course he was running around like a maniac, but the kids love it.
Yeah. So.
And also there's a couple of the executives that they put in bigger holes. Yes, to make it a little easier. And I think those are the easier ones also.
Yeah, there's 2 of them. One's down in Sarasota and one's at Santiago.
Yeah. Yep. So that's where we took our grandson, and he enjoyed the bigger holes.
One of my things that I'm surprised at is how much I miss my seasonal friends. So a lot of people do own homes here. Some of them rent regularly, like some of them will be consistent, whatever you want to call them, chronic serial renters, and they will rent like January and February or whatever every year. And so when they leave, we're always sad to see them go, and then we're always excited. We're like, oh, January's coming, so-and-so's coming back, or such and such. And like one of my neighbors behind me, he's from Canada, he comes down, and we get so excited when we know he's coming because we enjoy him so much. And you know, it's just kind of invigorates us again and gets us excited about seeing new people and people that we care about, because everybody here is from somewhere else. And we do all travel a lot because we all have families. Most of us have families somewhere else. So, And so, anyway, it's exciting to me. I didn't realize how much we would miss our seasonal friends, but we really do. And it's nice because then we can go visit them if we're in their areas when we're out traveling. So it's kind of cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's more fun when everybody's down. It's crowded, but it's more fun because there's more people at the squares, and, you know, it's just more vibrant.
Lively.
Yeah. So we do like the seasonal people. I used to be a seasonal person. Let's see. The quality of the entertainment surprises me. When we first came down here, of course, there's the entertainment every night at the square. And now some of the restaurants have entertainment. Some of the bars have entertainment. There's some really good bands here. There are really good singers. My favorite band, the Hooligans.
They're good.
They're very good. They play at Disney quite a bit. They used to play more here, but I think they've got a better gig down there. But they were here the other night, and they pull in a huge crowd.
And you know who supposedly they are? And I don't know if it's all the same members or some of them, but the Spasmatics.
Yes, it is. And I did not know that.
Are they all the same members? Do you know?
Yeah. They just dress up and do that.
Like the
80s? Yeah, the 80s.
They do a lot of like neon and all that kind of fun. They're a really fun band to watch.
And their drummer, I think, used to be in the Blue Men group. And he's just drumming away, and he'll throw up this. He throws up the drumstick, thank you, and just catches it and keeps on drumming, throws it, you know, and he sings and does that at the same time, which I can't even walk and chew gum. So I am amazed. We just watch the drummer. I mean, they're good. They're all good musicians. But the entertainment is
top
stellar.
It is. It really is. For me, another thing that I'm surprised at is that there are actually apartments here. When we bought, I never thought I'd see it. And they did start with some in Brownwood. I want to say they've been there like 3 or 4 years now, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or maybe more.
Yeah.
But those were the first ones that they built. They've had obviously a very good response. They're very well kept. They're also very, in my mind, very pricey. They are running about $2,200 or something, I think, for a 1-bedroom, and they go up from there. They've got a nice outdoor pool. They've got like a nice community room and things like that. But, and supposedly one of our viewers said that there was a 2-year waiting list to get in.
Yeah.
So, I find that surprising. But anyway, they're going to build some more. They're going to build some at Sumter. They're going to build some at Spanish.
They're not building apartments. They're making apartments.
Making apartments, yeah.
So they're going to be in the second story.
Above the commercial area.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of cool. It's going to be noisy, but if you're used to that kind of thing, and I do remember when they were putting those apartments up, people were not happy down there at Brownwood.
Yeah.
Or, the villagers were not happy, but they did a good job with it, and it became very popular. I mean, a lot of people, when they get to a certain age, the house is too much to take care of, and they sell their house, and then they move into the apartments. So when they're ready to leave, they don't have to worry about getting rid of their house or their kids or whatever.
It's a great scenario for the right people. Yep. And also, I mean, I'm a suburbanite, so I always lived in the suburbs and stuff. So I always liked my space and all of that. But that's not to say that people that enjoy the city life, we've got a daughter that loves the city, will never leave the city. And, that might be, obviously she's a little bit young yet, but that might be a place that somebody like, that has her same personality. They like that activity all around them, and and they don't mind the music, and people watch all they want out of their own windows. Anyway, I'm sure for the right people, it's the right place.
That is
something
true.
For everyone.
Another thing that's surprising is the amount of golf carts here. I think there is a number about how many golf carts there are, because a lot of people have 2.
I read in the paper, and they said they have to guess because honestly, and it makes sense why they have to guess, they're not licensed. So
yes, only a few of them are.
Yeah. So there was a guess, and they said that they thought that there were about 60 to 70,000 carts here.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And how expensive they're getting.
Yeah.
We priced one last year. It was an Emerge, has a backup camera, stereo, all the bells and whistles, and they priced it out at $23,000. And we have an electric cart that's a 2010 park car, so we just put lithium batteries in it instead of paying for a $23,000 new cart. And with my husband being tall, some carts he doesn't fit into. His legs are too long. I might have to shorten them or something.
I've never had that problem. I can't relate.
No. But there are a lot of carts here, and it gets really busy this time of year, so it's fun.
I think the last one that I had that we had kind of talked about, we had kind of had this conversation, cash purchases versus loans. So I feel like more people back in the day came down, bought their house cash. They would sell their big home up in wherever or over wherever, the come acrossers. And they would sell that big home, have the big nut, come down and buy a smaller home for less money, and then pocket some of the cash. We were talking about that you found some research, and it was basically 50-50. And we talked about different scenarios that could have happened and stuff. Maybe people hadn't quite sold their home up there yet. I wonder too, maybe people are testing it out. So they're like, oh, well, let's buy one down there. We don't think we'll lose any money on it. So let's buy it, take out a mortgage, and see if we like it. And if we don't, we still have our home back in wherever, and they could sell this one. Another thing would be that we were saying, a lot of people that seem to be coming now are a little bit younger.
Yeah.
And the prices here have gone up from way when we bought. So prices have gone up. So maybe it's not as reasonable anymore, because Florida used to be a cheaper area. And so you used to be able to sell that big house up north and buy something less expensive here. And it seems maybe not so much,
Well, yeah. And the boomers are retiring. I don't know how many a day. There used to be a stat on that. And they want to get out of the cold. They want to go somewhere where they can be active, like here. And so, I know Texas is really growing, and Arizona, because
same thing.
When you get old, you don't want to be cold.
Yep.
And we bought our house with a loan, and we kept the other house for quite a while. And, and as soon as we sold that, then we paid it off. So,
I'm sure there's a lot of different scenarios, but I was kind of surprised that the stat was 50-50, because if somebody would have just asked me, how many people do you think pay cash? I would have been more around the 70 to 75% as a guess. If I didn't know the stat.
Right. And all the experts say if you're going to retire, you should have your house paid off. You know, that's been drummed into us forever. So,
but that's, I think, some of the working people. My brother is in fact talking about moving down here but still having to work. And so he was saying, well, we'd probably take out a mortgage, but then at least you bought where you want to be when you retire. So even if you're still working to pay off that loan, you are where you want to be.
Right.
And and on the weekends, you still get to play with all of the amenities, or in the evenings or whatever. When you're not working, you still get all of the amenities. But it is interesting. So so I'm sure there's a million reasons why people took out mortgages.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot younger, because I think that now it's 60, 62 years old now is
for
the
the
average
median
age.
age.
Yeah. So it's getting younger, and I'm getting older. Let's see. Oh, here's a surprise that really surprised me when I first came down here, because we visited some friends of ours. There's a polo field here, a very nice polo field. And they have like a couple seasons of polo.
Yeah, spring and fall. Yeah. They don't run the ponies when it's cold, and they don't run them when it's hot.
When it's really hot.
Yeah.
And I kind of made it as a joke as they were showing us around and all the stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe they should put in a polo field. And she goes, oh yeah, we have one. And I'm going, I was just kidding. And yeah, it's true. And it's a beautiful facility. It's fun. We've gone there a couple times, and we're going to do a video on it when the season comes up again. And that surprised me. And they've had that field in for quite a while. And I'm still surprised.
Me too. I'm watching a golfer.
I know. I'm surprised there's golfers. Let's see, what do I say? The amount of restaurants. There are a ton of restaurants here. So whatever you want and whatever is your favorite. And we did a thing on favorite restaurants too.
But there's not a ton of chains. There are some chains, but there's a lot of independent, whatever you would consider independent restaurants and stuff. So there is a different variety. Like we've got like a Bonefish and Red Lobster and Olive Garden, but outside of that, we don't really have a lot of chain. I mean, we've of course got McDonald's, Wendy's, blah, blah, blah. But if you're talking about like a restaurant, sit down restaurant, we don't have a lot of chain restaurants. So
there's a few in this older section because I think they were there for Lady Lake anyway.
Probably. Yep.
And, you know, like Perkins and
Bob Evans and stuff like that. But,
And so, there's a lot of restaurants that you wouldn't find somewhere else, and they're all delicious.
They are.
Let's see. Oh, another thing that surprised me is the amount of dogs.
Yes.
There's a lot of dogs. And dogs in carts. And dogs at the square. In fact, somebody wrote an opinion in the Village's news about the dogs at the squares, and it was kind of not nice, and then I got a lot of not nice comments. But
there's a lot of dog owners here and a lot of dog lovers.
Yes, and I think that when you get to a certain age, I know that I don't know, but they have to go walk their dog, and so that gets them out, and maybe they wouldn't go out for a walk if they didn't have a dog as a companion.
And some people could be lonely, so it's at least a little piece of life in their home. If you're a widow or widower or something, it's somebody to give you a little push in the morning to get you out of bed.
Yep. So. And we had a dog when the kids were little, growing up, and it's kind of funny. There's even dogs in carriages, and
which I wondered about that. But one of my friends from home, I had remarked about that when I was in Illinois visiting one time, and she said, well, she adopts elder dogs. And I never really thought about that, because I was like, well, if you're taking your dog for a walk, shouldn't the dog walk? But she said, you know what? If my dogs were elder, I still want them to get out and get exercise. I would absolutely put my dog in a buggy. And I was like, hadn't thought about that.
I hadn't either. So I'll look again, see if they have gray whiskers. Let's see what else.
And there's a lot of dog parks here too, though. There's, what are there, 7 or something now, dog parks? So there are a lot of places too, if you are a dog lover, to
let your dog
run your dog. Yeah.
So. And that's a good thing. And they shut them down every once in a while, clean them up, and then reopen them. And so, that's a lot of dogs. Let's see. Another surprise is how many people, it's not really surprising, like to come visit you, like come to visit us. Our kids love it here. Mark had some customers that came and, would stay for a weekend or whatever, and then they would repeat, and it's fun to have guests because then you can take them around and show them the villages, and you kind of see it through new eyes again.
Yeah. And it reminds you again why you live here.
Exactly. Because a lot of times you're like, same old thing, same old beauty.
Music at the square, life's so boring.
Yeah. And so
it's terrible. We take it for granted sometimes.
And when someone comes down in their enthusiasm and they're tickled at cart after carts, up at the square, and they just think it's hilarious and taking pictures. And so it's really nice to have guests. And if you buy here or if you live here, you know what I mean. And your kids will love it. If you think, I'm not going to be next to my kids and grandkids, that's their spring break.
Well, we're second generation. My dad lived here.
Yeah.
And then that's the reason that I bought down here, was because he said, it'd be a great investment for you, and never thought that I would retire here. And unfortunately, he passed before we were able to come down here. But glad he enlightened me.
Exactly.
Sometimes you got to listen to your parents.
Another thing that surprises me is how friendly most of the people are here. I mean, there's people, when I fell on my bike the other day, there were a lot of people that stopped and asked if I was okay. And I was just standing there, my bike was down while Mark went and got the car. And I mean, cart after cart after cart is like, are you okay? Are you okay? And the little old lady across the street, she was backing up her car, and gets out of her car and she goes, are you okay? Can I get you some water? So people are very helpful. They're very friendly, very interesting. And like any town, you'll have a few grumpies, but for the majority, and we've met each other here. We didn't know each other before, and you make good friends. And so anyway, and that goes kind of along with the backgrounds of their last life or before they came to the villages. And that's pretty interesting too. So it's not that surprising. Let's see, another one I have. And you talked about the younger people moving here, the quality of the assisted living. There's Freedom Point, Buffalo Crossing. Very, very nice facilities. So I
can't remember the other one. It's Elin. I can't remember. It's memory care.
That one's right over here.
Someday.
Anyway, there's a lot of surprises and things that surprise us when we first came here, and today and now. So
it's kind of like, you think you know the place, or you think you know how everything's going, and then something comes up and you're like, well, that's kind of surprising.
Exactly. And Debbie will say something, and I'll go, I didn't know that, living here this long, and there's stuff I still don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting place to be. We both love it.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, so all the haters can hate, which is fine. By the way, go Tampa this weekend is playoffs.
We do enjoy the positive comments that we get and the questions, and Debbie is very diligent about answering and showing me some of them.
Yeah, we want to know what you guys think. If you have questions, that's kind of why we're doing this, is so that we can maybe dispel some of the other things that are put out there that are not maybe correct. And so anyway, we're just trying to help y'all out and hopefully maybe brighten your day just a little bit. So anyway, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Go Bucks.